It's literally only reason. I am here for you, Pat. I will subscribe to that shit. I don't like that I have to do it, but I will do it for you. Hi guys, welcome to LoveCast BL podcast. I'm your host Pixie, and with me are my co-hosts Alexa and Kayla.
Hey.
Hello.
So today we are gonna get into the first story of A War of Why. But first, our tea time is gonna involve me. Oh my god. If you don't have us on social media, you probably haven't noticed, but I will be going to America next month. Yay! And I'm so excited. I originally got invited to my high school reunion, which is 17 years ago. Do not talk about it. Okay? Do not talk about it. So I'm going for that and decided to stay longer so that I can meet up with Alexa and Kayla and have fun.
Get up to shenanigans.
Yes. So we've asked people for suggestions of typical American things I can do while I'm there. I haven't been to America for 17 years. I was 16 when I was there, so...
Things are very different now.
Yeah.
Things are very different.
But yeah, I think suggestions of what things we want Pixie to try, and also just, what you'd like to see from us in general, because, I think we're definitely planning to do some vlog content, and, we have some ideas, we want to record an episode all together, sitting in the same room, and have some other fun things that we're talking about, but, if there's anything that you guys think it would be fun to see us do, as 3 podcast hosts who will be meeting each other IRL for the first time after almost 2 years. Yeah, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Let us know what you want to see us do. So we'll try and fit as much as we can into our little whirlwind weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm so excited. I'm traveling all by myself. It's a 12-hour flight. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I've been trying to think of things that we can do that are very Southern American specific.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys like seafood, but the number one thing that I keep coming back to is that I think we need to eat seafood boil.
Oh,
because
that would be good.
That is that's a big thing. And it's really good.
Yeah.
So
I've never had seafood boil before. I was just in the South the other week, and I've never.
Yeah, it's basically
it looks so good.
Yeah, it's basically you can have them put in whatever seafood you want. I usually get shrimp and mussels and stuff like that, and they put it in a plastic bag, and then everything gets boiled in the bag with spices, and then they bring out the bag to you, and you pour it all out in this big bowl.
Yeah,
that's
and then
crazy.
you eat it. Yeah,
wow,
it's good.
Okay, yeah.
I think we should do that.
Yeah, I'm
LoveCast mukbang era is upon us.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can also go to I've been to a lot of the Thai restaurants in this area, so I found one that I think is the best, or at least is my favorite, and so we could also go there.
That was one of the suggestions we got on our Instagram. We were like, what should Pixie do in America? And someone was like, eat Thai food with a question mark. I was like, I feel like it only makes sense.
But never mind that Norway has one of the largest Thai immigrations.
Right?
We have a Thai restaurant at every corner.
That's kind of what it's like here too. There are so many Thai restaurants.
Mm-hmm. They're everywhere here. Yeah. But that's fine. I love Thai food. As long as it's not the spicy kind, because my stomach is not the right end.
You can get it customized.
I cannot eat Indian food. I cannot eat Indian food. I'm very serious. Like, I was destroyed when I tried it. Because not
you can't
only
have that happen.
Yeah, not only can't I take like spicy food, I can't take fruit in general. Like a lot of dairy products and stuff. Like if it's heavy on the dairy, yeah. But it's fine. I'll bring my medicine.
Your Lactaid in your Tums and just keep them stocked and ready to go.
I might need them too, honestly, so it'll come in handy.
It'll be good. So anyone has any more suggestions, please, social media under our comment section on YouTube, leave them and we will film some and we will do some. Yes. Okay. So going into our content of the day, we should probably talk a little bit about the show in general. So we're gonna focus on the 4 first episodes, which are called The New Ship.
It was 5, right?
Was it 5?
Yeah, 5.
It's 20 divided by 4.
Okay, 5.
That's the only math I know how to do.
5. Okay. I cannot do math. So the ship in question are played by Billy and Sang, which are Kapia Bangkok boys.
I think Billy and Sang are technically Idol Factory boys now, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Now that you mention it, yeah.
Yeah, but everyone else in the series, I think, from the other couples is like a Kapia Bangkok boy, pretty much.
Pretty sure.
But they came from, they're the Idol Factory boys.
Yeah.
Yes. So, the War of Why is story. How do we describe that in a very spoiler-free way?
I feel like it's a story that is trying to show the behind-the-scenes side of the BL industry. And what goes into, I think they're focusing a lot on being a ship within the BL industry and kind of like the underbelly of BL ships and shipping culture from different perspectives that are spread out across 4 different stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this, my first initial reaction to the show is that this is dark.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not the first show that's kind of taken hits at the BL industry. I think there have been a lot of comparisons to Lovely Writer, which was similar in some aspects by showing the behind the scenes of BL and filming a BL, but this is definitely a lot heavier and darker and focusing a lot more on the negative side of things, I think.
Yeah, I would say Lovely Writer's more satire of how the industry is, while this is more heavily going into the deep dark end of it.
An expose type thing.
They're not using humor to mask anything. Which I never thought I would see, honestly.
Yeah.
Me neither.
It's very interesting. When you're watching stuff like this, I feel like I've been having this cyclical, right? Yes. Thought of, this is technically a BL show that's supposed to be about exposing BL ships in the industry, but there's current BL ships in the show. So my brain is having this constant whirlwind process of how much of this is dramatized, which obviously to an extent some of it is. How much is this is stuff that actually happens? Have these ships experienced any of this stuff? So it's very it's constantly has me thinking about how much of this applies to the actual BL industry, you know?
Yeah, I kept having flashbacks for stories that I've heard of happening with actors, which one very prominently it was stuck in my head. First, I was like, oh, this reminds me of Bruce's character in Lovely Writer. And then I was just like, but Bruce reminded me of Art. And then I was just like, ooh, this sounds like Art and you.
Yeah, that's the big one. That's a big one. I feel like a lot of inspiration was pulled from.
Like, yeah. They probably like had some artistic liberties
artistic freedoms.
Yes, but I do like from everything we've seen and what we've heard of rumors about the Art and Muse situation. This does seem like it's been drawing from that.
Yeah,
and tea.
Yeah. And I think even, like, I definitely think that's a big one, but thinking about a lot of the topics that were touched on in New Ship, which was the first story, what they titled the first story, things like executives trying to take advantage of actors in the industry, that's something we can tie to a real-life situation in a real-life production company and an actor that was taken advantage of. So, and I'm sure there's even more stories that these people know from being in the industry and being involved in the industry that we'll probably never hear of, that they've pulled from, or hopefully not, but some might have experienced themselves. So, you know, I definitely think there is very much a real world tie-in. But also at the same time, like, it's being marketed as a BL, which I think makes it like a very interesting aspect of it to think about.
It's the whole thing is such like a gray area. I mean, at the same time, like, it's a good way to like get information out there for people who don't actually see how dark it can be, like how reality can be. But at the same time, you're profiting off the same thing. I don't know if I think it's a little bit hypocritical.
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to look at where it's coming from. Like, who are the creative minds behind it? So, like, the director for War of Y he's been directing stuff since, like, Lovesick. He did season 2 of Lovesick and, like, Make It Right and Why Destiny. And even, like, Secret Crush on You, which I didn't know. So, like, I don't know. I guess you just have to see or consider, like, who is behind it, and, like, that will point to what their intention is. Yeah. And just, like, looking at what they have done in the past and what they've said in shows, or the messages they've tried to get across in shows in the past.
Yeah. Do you guys think that people aren't getting the point of the show? Because, like, obviously this is trying to raise awareness and trying to make fans more obvious to what is actually happening. But at the same time, you have a ship that's actually together behind the scenes. So it's kind of like feeding into the delusional.
I think one of the big things for me, like when I was reading through the notes and like I put that point in, I remember seeing, I can't remember if it was from New Ship or from War of Managers, which is the second story that just finished. But I remember seeing this TikTok of someone like freaking out over how hot the NC scenes were. And we talked about this in our Steamy Scenes episode, how like watching the NC scenes in these shows was like this weird dichotomy of like they're really going at it, but knowing the context behind what their characters are really going through in these scenes, it made you feel really weird to watch it.
Yeah.
And so like when I was seeing this TikTok of this person being like, you know, like losing it over how hot these scenes were, to me that kind of feels like missing the mark of the series, at least especially for the first story for New Ship, knowing what Sang's character is experiencing mentally going through filming those scenes, and like the impact that things like that are having on him.
How he's being pimped out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, when I see people reacting to it that way, and like, obviously the scenes were wild. Like, they were really going at it, but I feel like they were using that to kind of show the pressure to keep making these NC scenes spicier and heavier and hotter. And so, like, when I see people kind of like, it almost felt like they were feeding into what the show was trying to say about how fans consume NC scenes. And so when I saw that, I was kind of like, it feels like people are a little bit missing the mark there. But yeah, I don't know.
I do feel like if you see people who are overly sexualizing the scenes happening in New Ship, I think that's where you have like the line of, are you really over sexualizing gay relationships versus just like watching show, enjoying the plot or whatever. Like, I feel that's the line for me. Yeah.
Yeah. It really shows, like, like, I think a lot of these scenes are about, like, the context in which you were watching them. And it felt like a lot of people were missing. And I don't know, I'm saying a lot of people, but I've only seen a couple videos. So I don't know if you guys have seen more reactions than I have. But it felt like those people were kind of missing the context of those scenes. And then that makes you think about, what is the way that you are consuming this media that you're missing the context of this story and what it's trying to say about these scenes type situation.
Yeah, I mean, it shows people are overly focused on the sexual content versus the actual plot and actually happenings. They're not focusing on the story at all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting that some fan reactions are literally fan reactions in real life are literally showing the same effect that the fan relationships in the show are. Like, it's literally proving the show right.
It's giving, like, congratulations, you played yourself type moment. And I thought, like, there was a moment like that in Lovely Writer, too, where, like, they used real-life BL fans to, like, play these obnoxious, arguing, girls. Like, BL ship fans.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, like, it's, like, it almost is, like, I don't know, there's, like, there's a lack of self-awareness in something like that, almost. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they got to see their face. No, I felt that, like, watching those NC scenes, I felt it was, especially the ones that weren't for the camera in the show, like those that were them privately in
behind
bed.
The scenes, yeah.
That was felt extremely private to me, extremely personal, and I felt like I was intruding on something. And that's what made it very uncomfortable for me to watch. But that's in the context of, like, the plot and the plot, like, leading me there.
Right. Right.
Which, if you're not following the plot, then obviously you're not going to get that feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, there was also the whole about the manager who was grooming? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Holy. I
and
never...
him out, like you said earlier, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. I never... That's one of those things that I never considered. Which is weird because, of course, there's going to be managers who are taking advantage of the situation like anyone else. But I was shocked at the like grooming and I don't know if I have the words for it.
I think when we get into this type of industry. There are a lot of people behind the scenes, like managers, directors, writers, that fans almost create these parasocial relationships in the same way that they do with the actors. Like, you know, a lot of people who know these faves know their managers the same way. Like, I'm thinking of Joffer's manager. Like, she's a very prominent voice, and a lot of the fans interact with her and speak with her. Or P. Oaf, who is a director that a lot of the fans feel very connected with. And so I think this is an industry that almost creates, like, parasocial relationships, not only for the ship themselves and the actors themselves, but, like, the people on their team and that are connected to them. So we want to believe that these managers are as good as the actors are. And, you know, it's just kind of in the same way that at the end of the day, this is a job for the actors. Managing these actors is a job for the managers, and doing what it takes to make these actors more profitable, more popular, more ship-worthy is what works for these managers. And so, you know, I think that was her goal in the series, to, like, make him someone who was profitable to these executives so that they wanted to cast him in their shows and sign him to their networks or whatever it was. And it kind of, like, all comes back to, like, we say this all the time, but it all comes back to capitalism and, like, the desire to make money and make people profitable. And how that even reflects, like, into the managers and the people that are on these teams behind the scenes. Yeah.
I mean, with the character of Pan, I thought he was an asshole. And I understand that he was a victim in all of this, but at the same time, I don't have I have a little bit of empathy, but not to the extent that Kayla does. I understand that he's a product of how that manager decided to, like, groom him, basically. But I hate fakeness. And I'm on the point where, okay, if you're an asshole, just own up to it. But it hurt me to watch him, like, fake it in front of the fans and then go and be an asshole behind the scenes. It's just... But that's gritted, like, on my soul.
I feel like that's part of the point, because it's like...
Yeah, I know.
It's like... And I think that's what they were trying to do with his character, you know? Like, you have people who empathize with him so much and felt so bad for him and saw his hurt, and then the people on the other end of the spectrum who are like, what is this two-personality situation going on here? And I feel like that's, like, the kind of character they wanted to create. And, like, I think it's really easy to lean into making your main character super likable at all times. And, like, that's what most shows are going to do, because the main character is often supposed to be the likable person. But I feel like him being so flawed, but at the same time, someone who has been through so much, that you can see how they played into the way he reacts to situations and the way he interacts with his fans versus who he is behind the scenes. Like, it just feels like that shows to me, like, what a good job they did of tapping into that character and bringing that character to life, and making him someone who could elicit such, like, different reactions.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I say I hate the character, but at the same time, it was very well done. I love that they put, like, a morally great character there. Like, it's not like a Mary Sue story, and it makes sense for the theme and the aesthetic of the story, and I still hate him, but I appreciate that that's a thing.
Yeah, the fake, I guess, manufacturing fake personalities is, like, a theme all throughout the series. Like, that comes in even heavier in the second part, because they're both being fake with each other and fake with their managers and fake with the fans. And it's all like to kind of just play the game and try to benefit from it as much as they can. But I think it's a little different with Pan, because I think he doesn't know any other way to shield himself or protect himself than to kind of be standoffish, and then so that will make people leave him alone and not want to interact with him because he wants to just be like left alone to kind of wallow in his sadness, but also like he wants to protect himself in the ways that he's able to. Because he doesn't really have control of what he can do or who he can be around, so
he it's like trust anyone.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah. So, what was the promo like? I remember seeing the promo pictures that were basically stills from the shows that they were doing in the show within the show. And that was like, so confusing.
People were so confused. Yeah, like there was like this, what was it, the pilot trailer that dropped with like someone was doing ballet, and then there was like the drum line, and then they brought in like the mafia baby. And like people, because at that point they hadn't really explained like that the show was supposed to be like about the BL industry, and so I remember everyone trying to figure out what the fuck the plot of this show was gonna be. But I mean, it got people interested, and I remember they did like, I can't remember if they were doing it weekly or monthly or something like that, but then they started releasing like the trailers for each couple, and like there was this build up to like each story's trailer being released. And I appreciated that because it kind of gives you insight into each specific story, and also allows people to kind of see what piques their interest between the 4 stories, because obviously they're all intertwined, but they all also kind of exist on their own.
Separate ones. Just so, like Why Destiny, sort of.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Copy Bangkok likes to do with their stories, if Why Destiny and not You Never Eat Alone. I don't know where that came from. Why Destiny and War of Why are any that You Never Eat Alone was also Copy Bangkok, but I don't know why that came to mind. But yeah, these kind of like intertwined stories where like all of the characters kind of know each other or know of each other, but also have their own story within each one. I think I like stories like that. I think it can be hard for people to follow. Like, I think a lot of people were thrown off by hearing this would be 20 episodes. But I mean, I think I like the idea of kind of being able to tune into the ones that speak to you the most, and not, you'll miss some Easter eggs here and there, but I think you can still watch the individual stories without feeling like you have to watch all 20 episodes to understand what's going on, which I think is a cool idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the 5-episode thing, because I don't think they need any more episodes for any of those stories. Yeah. Like, it will be too long if they try to drag it out to like 12 episodes. Story.
It's almost like an individual series. Oh my goodness.
I mean, the story is so heavy and so dark that like at the end of like the 5th episode of New Ship, I was just like, okay, I need a break.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I took on the tip that I got from someone in the server of just like binging them in 5-episode increments, because like watching New Ship weekly was like you, by the end of it I was like, okay, I need a break. So I just waited until all of War Manager finished, and like I was just binging it across this past week, and like it was wild to watch it all in one go, but at the same time I feel like just being able to consume it all and be like, okay, we've got that one done.
Everything is like, because there is like this element of cliffhangers and surprises and layers to the story that you usually don't get in BLs, because a BL that we have today is very one-dimensional. It has a story, it's following that story, you basically know what's gonna happen. But in this, there's been so many different layers that you're sitting there and just like, what is gonna happen next? I could not predict what was happening in New Ship. I had no idea. And usually I'm very good at reading stories and catching like the foreshadowing and what's happening for the structure of the story. But there was no way, with all the layers and deceit and everything going into this story. Yeah, it took my brain for a spin. And I think if you're not ready to sit down and actually watch a show that needs you to think to be there, then you shouldn't watch this show, because you're gonna hate it.
Yeah, it's really smart how the show is basically its own universe. Like, even in the second story, you have them referencing Pan and No and like everything that happened with them. And then I haven't started the one after that, but I'm sure it's like the same thing. So I just like that it's this entire universe that, even though the stories are unrelated, the characters are still related and everyone knows each other.
And people kind of float across, like, the different stories. Like, you have, like, Talei's character, who is just, like, there as, like, him and his ship are, like, the
I love
ultimate,
it when
most
Talei
popular.
shows up.
Talei's just kind of there. Well, like, him and his partner are supposed to be, like, the ultimate, like, most popular BL ship or whatever. And so, like, he just kind of, like, floats across all the different stories. I thought it was interesting that him and Muse are, at least on my drama list, billed first in the cast, even though, like, they're kind of just, like, support character that, like, exists. It's just there floating throughout all of the different stories. But
yeah, that's
it's
funny.
a plant baby.
Oh. Yeah.
No, I love it when Talei shows up. He's like, it's like seeing an old friend. It just shows up.
That's
there.
really,
friend.
Yeah, that's really what it's like. And then he always has some wise words to drop, and then he just leaves right after. He's like, you know, in my experience, blah, 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 blah. Okay, bye.
And that's it.
Oh, I love it. No, okay. So there aren't that, like, especially for me, I haven't seen a lot of talk about Worldwide online. I wonder if that's because of the heaviness of the stories. There's nothing to be a fangirl about, if you know what I mean.
It's a little bit too real for people, I think.
Yes.
And, like, yeah, like, there definitely are some people who are, you know, choosing to fangirl over it, even if I feel like that's kind of missing the point of the series. But overall, I feel like I saw a lot of reactions to New Ship of people who weren't expecting it to be as heavy as it was. And I don't know, maybe they were expecting it to go more of, like, the lovely writer satire route, where you could still ship the main pairing even while being aware of the things that they were trying to make commentary on. But I think so many aspects of this one are, like, so fucked up that you can't apply a lot of the typical BL fan process to it, which I think is maybe, like, turning some people off to following the series, you know?
Yeah. And I think a lot of, like, the people who are fangirling aren't getting the reception they thought they might get from it, so that stops it from being more. Because, I mean, if I see someone, like, clip one of, like, the NC scenes and put it out on social media, I'm just like, no, I don't need to see that.
It's not gonna, like, it shouldn't be going viral the way, like, something from Love in the Air might, because it's just, like, the context is so different, and I feel like we've been talking about this a lot lately, the context of series, and, you know, how not all series are comparable because they exist in very different realms. And I think this is a major example of that, how, like, you can't apply a lot of the typical BL stereotypes to this and the typical BL fan process to this, and it's not creating the same type of, like, commentary that a BL typically would, because, like, it's subverting, like, I almost hesitate to even call it a BL, because, like, I feel like it's just, it doesn't fall into so many of these things that we typically associate with BLs, you know?
So, but it's commentary on BL, so it's still,
Yeah, it's almost like its own little genre to me.
It's very meta.
Yeah, it is.
Very meta.
Yeah, I feel like Copy A Bangkok made their own genre and have kind of been with a few of the shows they put out.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, not even...
Y shows.
Yeah, not even relating it to, like, the way the fans are reacting to it. We could talk about how AIS Play is cursed and are terrible at releasing shows internationally.
Oh,
because
my
I think
Sunshine
that
Night is having the same issue because of
yeah.
AIS
I think
Play.
that's a big problem. Yeah, because...
I agree.
It
Their
just hasn't been
subscription
good.
service to be able to watch this show is, for me, $8 USD a month. That is more than some of the other subscription services I pay for that have a whole backlog of shows you could watch, while this one on AIS Play currently you just have War of Y and Love at 9, and like I'm fucking watching it. I'm fucking paying for it because of Ohm and Fluke and Pan, and because I like this War of Y series and what it's saying. But it's like I maybe I can pay for it, but $8 a month for 2 shows is crazy. It's like ridiculous, and I don't expect people to pay for that.
Personally, I think they would get more revenue from the shows if they actually just put them out on YouTube and put on the ad revenue.
Yeah.
Because the views would be insane. Mm-hmm. People would be so curious. Mm-hmm. And the actors in the shows have enough popularity that they can pull in a crowd even if the show isn't up to par with the plot.
Yeah. And even now they're releasing it on Gaga, Ooh La La, but they started, I think, basically towards the end of the new ship storyline. Like, it was like the last episode. And then they're releasing it on Friday, whereas the regular episodes air on Tuesdays, I think. So, like, that delayed release, I think, also is very detrimental to people watching things legally. Because at that point, it's already up on every bootleg site you can ask for because people pulled it from AIS Play. So that's another, like Heather said, that's just another subscription service that people have to pay for. I think AIS Play is definitely like the devil of BL shows and detrimental
I'm gonna be honest,
them.
Like, the only reason why I subscribe to the channel to get the shows is because I want to support Pan. It's a literally only reason. I am here for you, Pan. I will subscribe to that shit. I don't like that I have to do it, but I will do it for you.
The things we do for our best friends, like, come on. Yeah. No, but literally, like...
Yeah, and there's something wrong with the episodes for War of Y and Oh My Sunshine Night every single week. Like, they forget to upload parts. So, I know especially with the new ship, a lot of fans stopped watching and were disappointed because they didn't subtitle any of the on-screen text. But the whole...
That was such a big part of the story.
Yeah. It's like social media. That's the whole point. Yeah. So people got frustrated with that.
Yeah, and the episodes
Luckily, it has been good with
the same,
the other
like,
one.
in the right...
They're not.
They don't upload them in order.
It's so bad.
Like part 1, part 4, part 3. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know.
We're paying for it. Do you even care at this point?
No, they don't. No, I look at like the episodes analytics for War of Y every week, and it has like 100 thumbs up and like maybe 1,000 views, and I'm like,
it's so depressing to see.
Not happen.
It's good enough to get up to the same level as GMM TV's shows. So
it could definitely be racking in so many views.
It's so sad. People would watch it just because they're curious, but they're not going to pay to watch it.
And it sucks that like this streaming service, I don't even know what AIS Play is like having such a detrimental impact on these shows and these actors, like getting the, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say clout. That's not the word I'm looking for. But getting the attention from the exposure, thank you, from these shows that they could and should be getting with like the nature of this content and how for lack of a better word, controversial it is, I feel like in the way they're bringing these stories to life, like they could be getting so much more exposure. And I feel like they should be, with the way they're portraying like such a difficult and complicated type of story. But they're not getting it because of fucking AIS Play and Gaga Ooh La La and these gatekeeping streaming services. Didn't
Perth mention that AIS Play is free for Thai people?
Yeah, if you have like a Thai phone number, you can get onto the AIS Play app for free. Because it's
that really grinds my gears.
I think it's like a phone. It's like a phone company, like a Verizon or something like that would be the equivalent here. And so they're catering towards like people with Thai phone numbers that could perceivably use their service, so they don't give a fuck about the international audience. But it sucks because I feel like the BL industry gives a fuck about the international audience, but they can't get that attention when using AIS Play.
Yeah, exactly.
And AIS Play ran there.
Yeah. I really do think that's a big reason, though. Like,
I agree.
Quality of acting.
Good stuff. It was really interesting seeing Billy and Sang go from Secret Crush on You to War of Y. Especially because, like, I binged Secret Crush on You, so I had just finished it not too long before War of Y started. So, like, the tonal shift and the genre shift between their acting in both of these series was, like, very jarring at first. But, like, I think especially Sang, like, Billy was great too, but I think Sang was just, like, a standout actor in New Ship specifically, and like the way he brought that story to life was just like, he was incredible in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they brought the story to life. I don't think, like, if it wasn't for how good they were at acting it, I wouldn't have felt as uncomfortable as I did in most parts of it. Like, it wouldn't make the same impact as it did. So I was floored at how good everything was.
Yeah, for sure.
And everyone, all the actors. And quality of filming.
I think production value on this has been pretty high. And especially comparing it to War of Y's previous projects, I think you can definitely tell that there was a lot more that went into this production-wise. And I think War of Y and... Oh my god, I keep getting all these Y series mixed up. I think YYY and Y Destiny. I definitely had, like, especially with Y Destiny, like, there were some production things that I didn't quite love, and I just think, you know, it was a smaller scale project, and a lot of things were being handled very differently with it. But I think that maybe because of the type of project that this is and the story that they're trying to tell, I feel like they definitely stepped it up in the realm of production. And I don't know, maybe that they got different investors this time around and they had a bigger budget, but I definitely think there's a difference.
Yeah, I also think, like, they had, like, the added bonus of this stories really evolving around what they already have, like filming sets and all of that. Like, they could just use, like, save money basically on using what they already had, right?
Yeah. There are a lot of really beautiful shots in New Ship. Like, I think of at the end, whenever you see the manager with her little rainbow umbrella, like standing in front of that food thing, smoking a cigarette. I thought that was interesting. And then, like, there's a scene when they're in the hotel and Pan finds out, like, bad news and just, like, drops the remote on the floor, and you just see No in the background just, like, sleeping peacefully. Like, I really liked how they framed, I guess, this show. I really like how they're framing it.
Yeah, everything looked very thoughtful. Like they really thought it through, and everything had like a purpose. It wasn't like a throwaway shot. Like everything was planned and executed, and it really put emphasis on the story. Every shot that was in there for a reason.
I agree with that very much. So
yeah.
And sound quality. I can't even remember. I didn't react to any sound problems at all.
Yeah.
I can't
nothing
remember
that's
any.
like drastically worse than the typical like BL sound quality. Like there are some other shows airing right now, Love in the Air, that have absolutely horrendous sound quality.
It was so jarring, Alexa. I was dying while watching it.
And on the other hand, I can't recall any instances of War of Y where I was like, oh, this is like really taking me out of the scene or anything like that. So, I mean, I feel like there's always like a base level of like sound issues that kind of just exist in Thai media in general with the type of mics that they use and stuff like that. But I don't remember anything here that was like particularly stood out as really hard to listen to. Yeah.
GMMTV could take some points, and Mimind Y or Mimindi or whatever could definitely take some points here, like some classes or something from Coffee of Bangkok, because dude.
Yeah, it kills me.
And the quality of the story and writing. I think we've talked a lot about this. Like obviously I didn't expect this, and I was pleasantly surprised. And I think that, like, even though, like, I say, oh, I hate that character, and that was really uncomfortable, and whatever, it still speaks to the quality of it, because it's enforcing feelings into you other than indifference, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, having like struggling with this show, I feel like is indicative of them telling the story the way that they want to tell it, and having like these moral dilemmas and this like intense thought process while you're watching it, and you know, struggling to understand how you should feel about these characters. I feel like that's what they were going for. So like the fact that these are the reactions we're having, to me feels like the story is written well and is accomplishing what they wanted it to accomplish.
Yeah. Sometimes I watch a show and I'm like, it was okay, but the thing that made it good was like the actors. But I feel like it is the complete opposite for War of Y. Like, it is the story that I love about it, and I think that that's probably the most important thing about a BL, is that you like the story, instead of just, like, hanging on other things, like, well, I think this, like, actor saved the show. Like, I'm glad that it didn't feel like the show had to be saved by anyone's acting or anything like that. Like, it was just good all around. Well, is good.
Definitely. So, do we wish we could change anything about this series or improve? Do we think we can improve it somehow? I was thinking about this, and I'm just like, I have no criticisms, honestly. Like, what could you change? Like, if you change anything, it takes away from the impact of the story. So, I don't think there's anything you can do that will make it better.
Yeah. If anything, I just wish I could change the way that some people are perceiving it. But, and I feel like obviously this show as a whole is still ongoing. So, you know, who knows? Same as Kayla, I haven't started the Y Idol one yet, and the fourth story hasn't started yet. So we may have different thoughts after watching those ones, but I feel like the first two stories, like, I can't think of anything that, like, I really just wish was done differently.
Can I also say that, like, watching the NC scenes, like, as uncomfortable as it was watching, they really took care into making it, hidden enough. Like it's heavy, but at the same time, you know that there was a sensitivity like coach on staff, like someone to take care of the actors, and the shots made sure that there's not a lot. You can't see a lot, like they had all the opportunity to cover up as they needed, and it looked like it was done in a very tasteful manner. At the same time, they made it very impactful and very heavy.
Yeah, that's why I liked all the close-up face shots during those scenes instead of like having this wide angle of their bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost dropped my phone.
Yeah. No, I had that thought when I was watching it, that like I really enjoy how they shot this, because they made it hot in an uncomfortable way without showing a lot of skin.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's something I really like too.
Yeah. Anything else you guys really liked about the series?
I don't know. I always like that it makes me think, and that's kind of what I said at the start of just like having this analysis. And as someone who we like to have these conversations about the BL industry and start these discussions about these different aspects of the industry, and I feel like a show like this is really, really good for facilitating those discussions. And like I'm really interested after recording this episode to see what people who watch and listen are going to have to contribute to this discussion. And I just like enjoy what the show is like eliciting out of me. Like I have my fair share of shows I like to just watch to be mindless and see a cute little romance, but I don't know, it's nice to have a show that's meant to make you think, that actually like does a good job of making me think and elicits like a lot of different thoughts and feelings. And there was another word that is totally gone out of my mind now, but it just like it elicits so much out of me, and like I'm really enjoying all of the different feelings, even if they're not always easy to feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really like seeing like all of these issues, like you said, that we've talked about or witnessed being kind of dramatized in a way, because then honestly I feel a little validated, because I'm like, I knew it. And I'm like, I knew it. And now it's being shown to be a truth in the industry. But also, like I said, I just love the story. I'm so into it. I think that it's just so detailed, way more detailed than anything else I've watched recently. And I really appreciate that from like a storytelling standpoint and also a production standpoint. I just really... I like it. I don't think I have any complaints about it, other than AIX Play marketing it badly.
Yeah. And I really hope that like this kind of show can accomplish that people think twice about their relationship to Thai BL and what's happening. I think like these are things that people should already know, but at the same time you never know, and I think it might be at least change some people's views on the industry and put rumors and thoughts into actual pictures kind of thing. Like it's something else to talk about how the industry is bad, but actually seeing it and seeing it portrayed does make a lot more of an impact on people.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So, last question. Why should people watch, or why?
I think if you like to think and you're also someone who is like interested in the industry and what goes on in the industry and understanding kind of more of what these actors might experience or go through, or what working in the industry might be like. I think it'll be a really interesting think piece for you. You know, I think there's a lot of people that interact with the fandom on like a more superficial level, and I think that's totally fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, I think there's a lot of people who are really dedicated to the industry and the people in it and what this industry can stand for. And so, like, I think for those people, it's a really, really interesting watch and can add a lot of insight into your understanding of the industry.
Yeah. And I just think that all the actors involved in the series and the actresses as well, like the ones who play the managers, all are doing really well. So if you want to see some good but very intense acting, then you should watch this show. But also be ready, because the content is very heavy. Yeah,
you need to be in the proper frame of mind to watch this.
Yeah.
And I would recommend everyone to go into it with an open mind and a wish to look at it deeper than just the surface. Like, search out the layers, search out meaning, and not just like, you're not gonna get spoon-fed. So you need to exercise some critical thinking. So
definitely.
Yeah, so that's it for this week's episode. We want to know what your thoughts are on the series. Leave it on social media or in the comments below on YouTube. If you enjoyed the episode, please rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sharing this episode with your friends really helps us out. And thanks for joining for this week's episode, and we will see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We have
Respect contracts.
We need, like, in general, just respect.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yep.